Hi guys, Ray here from City Fan TV, and I'm joined by the man, the myth, the legend, that is Bernardo Silva. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, the man mountain. That's it. The man mountain, Bernardine, who's cooled off now, back in the UK and all nice and cool and collected.
Getting used to our wet weather.
Yeah, that's it. Back. No, I don't think. I mean, you talk. It's funny, isn't it? You talk to these people about, I want to go to England. All these waiters in Greece, I want to go here, and even the cleaners. So you think, oh yeah, I would love to go to it. We'll swap, mate. We'll swap. I'll miss City, of course. Of course, I will. I miss going to watch our boys, but I think that's the only thing I miss.
Yeah, the weather. Look, guys, we're here to talk about our problem. We've got a bit of a problem at the moment. Pep's been talking about it. And it's that injury list. Pep said, basically, we're in trouble. Which you think, well, that's a bit of a statement. You got some injuries. And it was I was reading a report on the BBC this morning where Pep, after the game, has said, we've got 5 serious injuries, obviously to serious players. And even last night against Red Star Belgrade, we had, 6 outfield players on the bench. Only 6. Now, let's try and find Pep's quote. Okay, yeah. Now, look, we are doing quite well, but at the moment we've got injuries to Kevin De Bruyne, Jack Grealish, Mateo Kovacic, John Stones, and last night Bernardo Silva got injured. Now, you've got to look at we sold a lot of players in the summer. Obviously, Riyad Mahrez went, Cole Palmer, Emery Laporte. Ilkay Gundogan joined Barcelona, and we let some people go out on loan, which was Joao Cancelo, Tommy Doyle, James McAtee. We brought some players in. I think we brought 4 players in. So that doesn't cover the 7 players that have gone out. So we are a small, tight-knit squad, and obviously the long-term interest to KDB is an issue. Pep's looking at the next bunch of games. We've got, off the top of my head, we've got Forest at home this weekend. We've got Newcastle away in the Carabao Cup next week. Don't know our league game after that off the top of my head. Is it Palace?
Wolves away.
Wolves away, sorry, that's it. Then we've got Leipzig away in the Champions League, and then Arsenal in the league in October, at the beginning of October, so 8th of October. A ton of games. Pep said we're in trouble. He said, we are in trouble, but I'm not going to say, we have a lot of injuries. It is what it is. Okay. Are you watching Mr. Ten Hag and everybody else who complains about injuries? Pep says, with the players we have, we will go for it. As long as we have that mentality, that is good. We have 5 really important players injured, and to sustain that for a long time would be difficult. Okay. He also said, we can't have, with the salaries and the budgets for the transfers, 55 players. It would be chaos for the clubs. They would go bankrupt. Unfortunately, it is a long time for Kevin. It's going to be probably near Christmas, I think. John didn't play. It's a little bit long. Maybe Cover is coming back. Jack, maybe in a week or 10 days. But after that, he needs his condition. And Bernardo, I think he's going to be out for a few weeks. So, it is a little bit of a worry. Let's look at each of these players and in turn in isolation, and then look at the bigger picture. Look at the lengths they're going to be out for and how much of an issue that's going to be. So we've got to start with KDB. He's been, for the last couple of years at least, I think, one of the best midfielders, not in the Premier League, in world football. Everybody's raving about him. Everybody's shouting about him. So he's going to be out. He was supposed to be out for about 4 months. So I don't see him being match fit this side of Christmas easily. We're looking at end of December into January. How much? Look, people are going to say, hey, look, you've won all your games. You've won all your games. And that's 5 games in the league, the Super Cup, and this game in the Champions League. You won all 7 games. Forget the Arsenal game at the that big friendly Community Shield, which you drew in 90 minutes. But look at all this. You've done really well. You don't need KDB, but how much of a loss do you think he's going to be? How much are we going to miss him?
Well, a lot. We can adapt. We've adapted, haven't we? We've adapted to the loss of KDB. Of course, Phil Foden is going to stroll into that position, but Phil Foden's playing a totally different game again last night. He was when we we obviously played Belgrade as we're recording this.
Yeah.
He started very, very well, played very, very well. But there's nobody can take on that KDB role. There's nobody there. But what we've done, we've adapted. We brought in Doku. We brought in Gomez to some extent. So we've got one more wing play, perhaps, and perhaps we had last season, as far as being dynamic wing play as opposed to being stood around passing the ball backwards and forwards. So we've just adapted to it. Now, that's fine as long as it's just KDB. And you've got players like Nunes who are slotting into little roles and releasing players like Rodri. So we're working around it, and it's okay. We can cope without KDB. Now, the thing is, obviously, the problem starts when these other 2 or 3 players who are making up for him, like Phil Foden, for instance, if Phil Foden got injured, we'll start to struggle again. But at the moment, we're coping, and that's all we can do.
Well, Phil Foden got a couple of knocks yesterday. I saw he got a heavy tackle in the first half and one in the second half. First one, he was not just limping; he winced after that. And you could, looking from where I was, I thought he'll run that off, he'll be fine. But it might not be, and it might be something that the day after swells up or whatever. So we'll wait and see on Phil. But obviously, like you say, other players who have helped cope, who've helped fit in, people like Kovacic. So let's mention him. He's basically played all games until after the international break. So he didn't play in the game against West Ham. He's not played in this one. He probably won't play at the weekend. He was one who kind of helped to cover.
Yeah.
He was covering for Gundogan, but he allowed us because he slotted in. He's such a classy player. He's won 4 Champions Leagues already, titles in different countries. So he's a cracking player, and he just slotted in as if he'd been here for years. Yeah. He's got that DNA already in him of how we're going to play, and he's obviously been a big bonus, and he's covering for KDB in some respects. But he's out now. He's out for, as Pep said. He said maybe Cover is coming back. Well, coming back doesn't mean he's back. So I can't see him, like you say, training this week. No. If we're lucky, I can't see him playing next week against Newcastle. If we're lucky, he'll be ready for the game against Wolves. How much of a blow is losing Kovacic?
Again, yeah, definitely a blow, because he's come in and established himself. And you got to the stage where he's becoming one of the first names on the team sheet, which he has to be, and all of a sudden we're missing him again. So, again, we're relying on other players. All right, Cover's out. We'll bring a couple of the other guys will adapt to different positions. We'll get Nunes playing a more controlled role and let Rodri loose up in and around the box and stuff like this. So again, we're adapting to the fact of Kovacic isn't there. And yes, it's not a big worry. If he misses Forest, it's not the end of the world. If he misses Newcastle, because obviously Pep's going to play the kids, it's not the end of the world. And hopefully Kovacic, fingers crossed, as you said, will be available for that Wolves away, which will be another big game.
We'll talk about the entirety. We'll look at it holistically at the end when we looked at each player to see how much of an impact. Losing 1 or 2, yes, culpable. But when you lose KDB and then one of the replacements is Kovacic, and then you lose him, and then you ask, if you lose somebody else.
Take us on to Bernardo, mate. That's the next thing, isn't it? If you're talking about that central position.
All right, I wasn't going to mention Bernardo next, but you brought him up. He got injured against Red Belgrade, came off after 40-odd minutes. He didn't look happy. I was trying to watch. Did he walk down the tunnel?
Yeah, I don't understand what was going on.
Yeah, but Pep said he's injured. He felt something, and he's going to be out for weeks. So it's not going to be something that he's going to miss a couple of games. By the signs of it, when you talk weeks, I think he won't be ready even for the Arsenal game on the 8th of October, because that's 18 days away. He might be on his way back. That, combined with the KDB, combined with Kovacic, that's a huge blow, isn't it? Because he's the top.
Yeah, I think more than perhaps anybody else, he's after KDB. He's the biggest miss, really, allowing for all the other Stones of this world, etc. Because his adaptability, his availability to do different things. He can play. Pep will ask him to do certain roles, and he'll go out and do them. He can be a bit more dynamic. at times, and Pep's asked him to be more dynamic in and around the box. That's why I love him. That's why I love him against West Ham. That was, for me, his ideal player. I want him in and around that box, causing problems, getting on the end of things, scoring goals, assists, etc. I think he's sometimes wasted as a ball carrier, which is what Pep uses as sometimes, just to hold the ball up and pass it off and work hard. And I think key, after KDB, he's the big loss. And that, if it is a few weeks, as I say, again, as these things are mounting up, he will be probably the biggest loss, I think, at this point in time after KDB.
Yeah, and obviously Pep mentioned John Stones. Now, I thought John Stones would have been back. From the things that Pep has said previously, I fully expected John Stones to be back. And he said John didn't play. It's a little bit long. I'm not even sure if John Stones is training yet. So that's another. It's a concern, but is it a big concern if John Stones is not available for 2 weeks? Because you look at the replacements, you think, well, okay, Walker's been ever present because John Stones hasn't. So we got Walker, we got Akanji, we got Ake, we got Diaz, got Gvardiol, Rico Lewis, Gomez. Are you worried about John Stones being out for a couple more weeks?
Not so much. The thing I worry about John Stones is these little things that he gets with these injuries. They never seem that bad, and yet he seems to be missing for weeks.
Yeah.
And this tends to be another one. And this looks as though it's another similar thing, and that is the worry. Because we love John Stones, of course we do, but we have cover. But obviously Stones has been utilised more in the forward-thinking role, hasn't he, by Pep. And of course, that's reducing the numbers in the middle of the park if Stones is playing that role.
So you got Stonesy playing in midfield, but you've lost Stonesy, you lost KDB, you lost Bernardo. They're all midfield players.
Yeah,
you lost
defensively, we're fine. We're still fine. We're still okay. But Stonesy hasn't been playing defensively for a little while.
Yeah. So Stones that, and then obviously Jack Grealish, who's one of your attacking players, and I don't know I can't remember what was wrong with him, but he said a week or 10 days, and then he needs condition. So, my feeling is I'm obviously trying to read between the lines. A week or 10 days is a week or 10 days. Condition is another week. So you're looking at Jack Grealish probably being out for at least 2 weeks. That gets you, he'll be back, I think. He'll be training the week of the Arsenal game for a few days, I think. But will he be match fit? Because he hasn't played for a little while. He's had a couple of appearances, I think, this season. So the worry is a lot of these players. Let's quickly talk about Jack. Are we going to miss Jack?
Well, of the injuries, I would say Jack's the least. Not because I don't like Jack particularly. Just contribution-wise, is probably less effective than the other four guys that we're now missing. So yeah, I mean, we will miss him because he's a player. He's a guy. If he's not playing, he's on the bench. He's a seasoned international. He's a seasoned City player. He's been there, done it. We will miss him. But of the five, he's the one we're missing probably least at the moment.
Because we've got the cover. Who have we got as cover for Jack Grealish then, or alternatives?
Well, I mean, obviously you're talking Doku can play both roles, can't he? So, I mean, he's stepped into that. He's an extra player that's challenging Jack Grealish. And if Pep wants to play his overlapping so-called left backs that aren't left backs, which they aren't, of course, we saw a lot of good play from Gomez the other night. So and he's not had that many chances. So, you got to think, he did fade a little bit, but potentially Gomez can do a job over there as well. Yeah. So, I think Jack's the least missed at this point in time, but he's a guy you want somewhere in and around, because I think now that Doku has arrived, I think we'll see a bit more from Jack Grealish.
He has to
kick him up the bum, and I think we'll get a more from him. So I'm just can't wait to see how he reacts anyway. And we've not had that chance yet to see it, have we?
Totally agree, mate. Totally agree. I mean, I did say when we were before we signed Doku, that this would the minimum Doku would do would be to challenge Jack Grealish. The minimum he would do is to push Jack Grealish to become more effective. Because once Doku gets a run, he's more effective. He's more direct. He is more dangerous. He's challenging more. And I said before, there'll be horses for courses. There'll be games where you want to play Jack. You want a bit more control. There's games that you want to play Doku. But if Doku can learn some more, basically control the ball better, don't lose it. We saw last night, actually, he's learned you lose the ball or Someone else, you leg it, you put your afterburners on. So he didn't do that against West Ham. But again, last night, we saw Doku 2 or 3 times coming back to help the defender, especially when Walker had wandered off. He was coming back, and his mere presence helped us to win the ball back because he was double teaming. And I'll tell you a personal story. At school, I played hockey. I think once for the school team. I think it was once. I couldn't play hockey to save my life. I couldn't control the ball to save my life. Honestly, I couldn't. I was useless at hockey. But I played for the team. And what I was a nuisance. That was it. Because I had the stamina, I had the...
As in life, mate. You're a nuisance.
Thank you very much, Bernard. I'll set you up for that. But I was just there. So when someone else was legging it down the wing or something, I would chase them, I would harry them, I would require them to have good control. Otherwise, I was just putting pressure on them, and that's what Doku did. He wasn't putting in, these great tackles or anything, but he was a nuisance to somebody. He forced them to think about him being there, his presence, and some of them would lose control, and Walker or someone else would come up and say thank you very much and take that ball away. So he's learning that, and I think he's enjoying that. Honestly, you see him doing that role now. Against West Ham, you could see. He didn't think like that. But now he's done that thing a couple of times. I saw him, and it was far away. I couldn't see, but I felt, it's just a feeling that he was glowing. He had a little smile to himself that he's come and done that. And that defensive thing. And people were clapping. They appreciated that. And I think that's got through to him. So really pleased with what he's learning. So if he carries on, if he can control the ball better, he's already, I think, 3 games in, his decision-making is better. He knows 1-on-1, I'm taking you on, buddy, and I'm leaving you. 2-on-1, I'm looking for the pass back, or the pass we saw against West Ham. He had a pass to Guardiola. He had 2 defenders on him, and he waited till Guardiola got into the box and passed it in between them, and Guardiola put a cross in, and Haaland missed an open goal. But, so Doku is going to be threatening Jack. So let's look at the totality. You mentioned it already. The defense is not going to be an issue. We've got 6 or 7 players there, and I don't think that's going to be a problem. The left wing isn't going to be an issue because we've got Doku, we've got Gomez. I think we're okay there. And Oscar Bob, he's got a lot to learn. I did say last night, Oscar was Bob last night. He had one good shot, but he, as Pep said himself, he lost the ball twice. The issue we're going to have is that I think is the midfield, because Alvarez is on fire. Haaland's getting in good positions, but he still scored 7 goals in 5 league games. The problem is, when you add it all together, we're without KDB midfielder, we're without Kovacic midfielder, without Johnny Stones, who drifts into midfield, and we're without Bernardo Silva, another midfielder. If you look at the attacking positions, actually, we've got, at the moment, Haaland, Alvarez, Foden, Doku. Is that it? Gomez?
Well, Rodri. That's what I'm sort of glad these new guys have hit the ground running, like Doku and Nunes to some extent. We've not seen a lot of him, but last night I thought he was superb in that he played exactly how Pep wanted him to play, and to some extent I know it sounds a bit daft, it released Rodri to think a little bit more forward. Nunes was playing more that holding role as well at times, and I thought it allowed Rodri to get in and around that box, and players are frightened of him. He's got a reputation, Rodri. You can say what you want, but in the opponent's third, I think teams are wary. Teams are wary of him. I think he's becoming another option to that. As you say, all right, not the biggest amount of numbers in attack, but we've always had midfielders who can score goals, and perhaps Rodri will break some records this year on his goal scoring.
I think he will score more goals, and that will help him, because not help him as a player. I think it'll benefit him to score more goals. You feel good about yourself, but also it will help people from outside City appreciate him more. I've heard people saying, when people talk about the best players in the Premier League, full stop, in the Premier League era, they talk about in midfield. They talk about Scholes, Gerrard, Lampard. No one else gets a look in. Because they'll say, well, look at their numbers. Look at Gerrard's numbers. He's a box-to-box. He does all this, blah, blah, blah. Look at the numbers. Lampard, look at his goals. Look at the numbers. Scholes scored a decent. Rodri doesn't get as many. He gets very, very important goals. He scored a goal last night, scored a goal against Villa when we came back from 2-0 down to win the league a couple of seasons back. Last game of the season, he scored the winner in the Champions League. So he's scoring actually very crucial, important goals that very few other players will score those goals from outside the box. We have got KDB, and that's it. Other people score goals from outside the box once in a blue moon. But, Rodri will contribute a little bit more. So, but are you worried that with all these midfielders out, I will tell you, because we have missed one person out. We always miss him out, okay? It's Calvin Phillips. Let's mention him. He's available. But this is the list of City's midfielders that are available right now. I'm going to ignore Oscar Bob because he's a kid. We've got Doku, Foden, Nunez, Phillips, Rodri. That's it. We've got 5. Only 5 midfielders. You can include Julian Alvarez because I think Alvarez is playing a different role as well. So, we can sometimes play with Haaland on his own and 3 or 4 men behind him. Or we play 4 across the middle and Haaland with Alvarez. So Alvarez is moving around a bit. He's a movable feast as well. But we've got no one spare. So how worried are you then with the games we've got coming up?
We just hope we can't keep injuries can't keep piling up. And as I said, we do have it looks as though we might have to sort of throw away the Carabao Cup, which we've sort of come to the stage now where we're not overly worried about that, are we? Which we always say it's nice to have it and nice to have a trophy, but I'm not worried just at the moment. I might be in a couple of weeks' time if things haven't improved too much. I might be worried, and if people are saying, "Now, what happens to us if Rodri gets injured?" It doesn't really happen that much, does it? But hey, you touch wood, who knows? But yeah. I'm not worried. I think the guys are playing well. I think the guys who are starting the game, we've not a lot on the bench. Let's be honest about it. We can't change games particularly, although Pep has ways of doing it in obscure ways that you think won't work. But at the moment, we're fine. Before the Arsenal game, if we've got a more or less full squad, I'll still be quite happy.
I think honestly, my feeling for the Arsenal game, who's going to be back? Bernardo won't be back. I don't think. KDB won't be back. I think Kovacic will be back. I think John Stones will be back.
Yeah.
Jack Grealish, I think, will be coming back that week. So it will help. Like you say, we can't afford more injuries.
You need to wrap at this early stage of the season, you don't talk about wrapping players up in cotton wool, do you? It's usually at the end of a season, but we're going to have to do that. We're going to have to be very, very careful. The medical staff will have to be on the ball. Perhaps with Bernardo last night, perhaps he was a bit unhappy because he had to come off, but perhaps he brought him off quicker than perhaps he might have done.
Well, he's going to be out for weeks. It's going to be out for weeks. That Newcastle game, you're right, it's probably going to be. It's not going to be chucked, but I can see people like. I don't think Pep's going to go light because I think Newcastle. I'm not sure what Newcastle are going to do because obviously they had
I don't know what Newcastle are going to do. I don't know if they're going to play kids or whatever. I just don't know.
I'm hoping they do because I'm hoping they look at it and say, "We've got the Champions League, we've got the FA Cup, we've got the league. We'll focus on them. We didn't have a great start in the league. Let's focus on that." Or they could say,
might already be thinking, I mean, psychologically, Pep said we're playing the kids, so they might think, "Oh, he's not going to play a strong team." So.
But they might look at it and say, we got to the final last season. We want some silverware to show for what we've done. That's the easiest cup to win. Yeah. It is because you win 3 games, you're in the semi-finals. So
yeah, I don't know what they're like for injuries. I don't know if, obviously we look at our injuries and start whinging, don't we? But I don't know what other teams are doing. I'm not sure how Newcastle are coping. I mean, last night I watched most of that game we played. I wasn't overly impressed with Newcastle. I wasn't overly impressed with AC Milan, but it was a crappy game from certainly the first half anyway. But hey, it is what it is. It gives us an option. Gives Pep an option of. If we have to throw it, we'll throw it. If we can scrape through it on penalties or something like that, let's do it.
But last question, which I think you've already answered. Who is the player that, if we lost now, would be devastating?
Yeah, I think it'd be old Rodgers because he's on fire, isn't he? Still on fire from last season. He's on fire this season. Yeah. I saw a couple of cock-ups last night. I saw a bit. I thought, what are you doing? But I mean, hey, you're bound to when you're that involved in a game like he is. He's just key to everything. If Rodgers gets injured against Forest, I'm sure we'll find a way through.
We'll be good. I'll be good because we're looking at Calvin Phillips isn't getting much time, and that's where our issue is. But on the other hand, we got Kovacic to help out Rodri, and now he's injured. So it's
Kovacic will come back. We'll have Nunes, who seems to be playing a nice little holding role last night. Didn't lose the ball, played the ball very, very well. Did what Pep wanted him to do. So let's not worry about what's happened anyway.
Fingers crossed, guys. Fingers crossed. People start coming back next week, and we won't be back to full strength till Christmas time. But the more players that can come back, the better. Take the workload.
As long as we keep ticking the wins over, that's all we can ask.
I just look at the next game, win that, then think about that.
We're playing quite well. I think we're playing quite well now. The last couple of games, all right, we could do a bit better finishing. Phil Foden needs to be on that training pitch practicing putting the ball in the goal because he's rubbish at the moment. He can't hit a band,
brilliant
the banjo, whatever it is. But we need to put chances away because we're going to have tighter games where we need to put those chances away.
All right, buddy. Thanks very much for that. Fantastic to have a chat about the injuries. It's not fantastic to have the injuries, but we had a good chat. Hopefully, Bernard's insight has helped allay some of your fears, but obviously increase fears if we lose Rodri. But, there you go. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching. Thanks, Bernard, for joining us. If you want to follow Bernard, he's on Twitter. You look up Bernard Dineen, 2 N's, 2 E's, easy to find. Type in Dineen, 2 N's, 2 E's. Yeah. You should find Bernard.
Even Bernard City will get you to me anyway, whatever you do.
Popular guy on Twitter. You've got over 3,000 followers, I think. 5,000 followers on Twitter, something like that.
Twitter, nearly 16,000 now.
Oh, 16,000.
I follow the same number back, but I mean, slightly less. It used to be higher. I used to follow more than follow me, but now it's gone the other way, so I'm happy with that.
And you can follow Bernard on YouTube, on the Citizen channel on YouTube for a lot of history stuff and a lot of Bernard does everything, history stuff,
everything.
Stuff,
I'm a magazine. I'm a visual magazine, mate. On City.
I'm going to call you present. You should be the Manchester City fanzine. That should be a Man City fanzine channel. Anyway, but thanks a lot for joining us, mate. And you guys, if you're new to the channel, if you've managed to sit through the best part of 30 minutes of this, well done. Obviously, if you have sat through it, you must have enjoyed what you've seen. So if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Hit that bell icon so you're notified as soon as new videos come out. And guys, we will be back with you very, very soon. See you around, Blues.